Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode. This week I thought I'd do something a little bit different since I've been talking about how I feel like the game is coming to something pretty nice. I thought I'd do another video showing the gameplay and how things have changed since the last time I did a video like that, which was quite a long time ago actually. So the first thing is that the main menu has changed quite a lot. Now there's much more options here on the left, and you have like this scrolling leaderboard on the right. And in the things I've added more options like a tutorial, some difficulty settings that you can choose from. And then I even added an FPS counter here. And of course, you can switch to full screen. You can even enable the disable VSync. These are all options that were really easy to set and good at, so that's why I added them. And then the very important sounds settings, because it's really annoying sometimes to hear the sounds when you're on your phone or something. So I made some settings here, and of course you can tweak the music volume and the sound effects volume separately. And this is all done also through Godot's really awesome bus system for sounds. And I've been keeping track of the credits I have to add. So for example, I've revamped all the art and I hired an artist to do it. So I've added his name here, and I've added the credit for some of the musics and the sounds effect I had to use because they were required by the copyright stuff. Even though they were free, I haven't paid for any of the sounds I'm using, but some of them required me to have the common attribution and stuff like that. So I've been trying to keep track of that so I don't forget before I release the game and then I get sued or something. And so if we start a new game, we can see here that you can still choose and randomize your name, and you can now select your difficulty for this level. You can always change it at any time in the settings, but it'll remember the lowest setting you were at, and that's what it's going to use to calculate your score. So if you want to have the highest score, you have to make sure that you select the right difficulty when you start. I've added this, I don't know if you had time to see it, but this little faster than light particle effects when you're loading, and then when you start you have the introduction text, and after that you're gonna have one of the first tutorial prompts that explain a little bit how to move and what the game is all about. Compared to the last time, well, you can already see that the graphics are much better. I now have actual ships that were designed by an artist, and I have like some beautiful wormhole shaders now that I explained in the last episode. And I've also like changed the UI quite a bit. The buttons highlights, they have sounds, and you have some music. The color of the unexplored space used to be quite dark and it was hard to tell. And following feedbacks I got, I changed the color to something much lighter blue that still looks kind of like space or clouds or something, I think, but it does make it much more obvious where you've been and where you haven't been. And then you can start moving by just clicking anywhere. So the first time you encounter some units, like if they're allies or enemies or neutrals, then it's gonna give you a little nice tutorial about what kind of ship it is and what you should do. I've added these outlines, so like the blue outlines means that this ship is not gonna attack us, but if we meet an enemy, it'll show as red so that we know we can attack it. And there's another one that I show an outline, a white outline for ships that you can board and take control of. And so if we shoot these enemies, we'll see that there's a few more effects now. So when I click, the ship is kind of like highlighted, and there's some particle effects, and there's of course sound effects now. And so now when we are met for the first time with materials that we can recycle, it's going to tell us that we should bring it on board by using the grab command, and then the grab command is going to be highlighted here. So we just have to move on top of it and click the grab command. And then once we have it in the inventory, the tutorial is going to detect that we have something we can use in the inventory. So it's going to say, okay, go to the converter, and now when we're in the converter, there's the little tutorial. I guess technically I should take the time to highlight every step of the way, but Like, it takes a really long time to highlight every button and then to detect when the player has clicked each button and stuff like that. So for now I've put only this, but it's something I might revisit eventually. We'll see if this is enough as I have more playtesters and people looking at the game. So if we want to recycle energy, we just click the recycle energy and we select the hydrogen, and then it's going to tell us that we'll gain 990 energy. It shows some of the stats because I discovered as I was playing that it's quite useful. Sometimes you want to know, do I have enough energy to do this, or should I produce more energy, or maybe I don't need it. So like if I click on the missile, for example, it tells me how many I have already in cargo, so I know when I'm crafting, okay, I want to craft up till 10. Before you had to kind of close this and go in your inventory and check, okay, I have 8 missiles, so I need 2, and then you go there and then you craft 2. Now it's obvious if you want to have 10 missiles, it's very easy. So I mean, it's not the perfect UI, it's much better than it used to be. There's even now you can have like information about the object you want to craft, but it's not perfect. It's still kind of not obvious. Like if you want to craft a human bomber, then it's gonna say you have a skull hull relic, but it's also missing a skull hull relic. That's because you actually need 2 scout hull relic to craft a bomber, but it's not really obvious, I think. But I couldn't find a much better way to show this in the UI without like making things incredibly complicated, and I'm really trying to keep it as clean as possible with as little text as possible. As you can see now, it's a full screen menu, so it's not exactly the simplest thing in the world, but I think it's gonna do the work. And so if we craft it, now we've gained a little bit of energy, we can zoom in and out, and we can keep exploring, and if we're lucky, maybe we're gonna find something interesting close by. So the first time you meet a planet, it's gonna tell you that you can shoot it, so it's gonna highlight your weapon, but if you click on the weapon now, you realize that, oh, I don't have the range, so you have to get close, and then you can hit your weapon again. Then it produced some of the material here, and we can gather that. So there's another tutorial that's going to fire here. Since there's an object here, we don't really know what it is, but if we have a look, it's going to tell us that there's a short range scanner MK2. So as we grab it, it's going to tell us, oh, you've picked up an item you can equip, so you can equip it in the inventory window. So it's going to highlight the inventory button, and when you get there, it's going to say, yeah, just click on your new scanner, and then click on the mount button. So if I click on the scanner here, I have the mount button and I can click it here, and as you can see, it got installed here. And now that we have the MK2, what is gonna happen is that it's gonna highlight items, big items. So you're not gonna see ships, but you're gonna be able to see planets, suns, asteroids and stuff like that are floating around in space, making it much less random about where you're going. As you can see, at the beginning I was just kind of like going in a straight line trying to find stuff, but now I know where I'm going. I don't know, where the enemies are and stuff like that, but I can find planets to harvest very easily, and that makes it much easier to avoid running out of energy if I can find planets very easily. So now it says I have no more missile to shoot, so we're gonna craft a few more missiles. And as you can see, I'm running low on energy, so I'm gonna use some of the item I've picked up, and I'm gonna use them to get back some of my energy I need. The game is really about trying not to die from a lack of energies. Oh, so we've encountered our first enemy. So like it says, hostile enemies will be marked in red. So let's go here and let's hit that guy. Maybe he's gonna hit us. If he hits us, we're gonna see the new visual effects for people who have shields, because these guys don't have shields, so they just display the hit. But as you can see, when you have a shield, there's this like bubble effect, and the sound effect is a little bit different. So this guy's dropped the scout relic, so that's really interesting. We'll be able to craft our first ship. So as I do that, for example, Before, as I was saying, I couldn't craft a human bomber because I needed 2 scout relic. Now I have 2 scout relic, so I could select them. And it says it's going to cost me 2000 energy and 6 turn, but I can craft myself a human bomber. I call them bombers because when you meet them as enemies, they will shoot you with torpedoes which have a area of effect explosion. But the truth is, there's no limitation on what you can equip on which ship, which means I can craft a human bomber. If I look at the stats, it has, well, 15 hull. It's a little bit slower, but it has a utility mount. And otherwise, it's very similar to the scout. If we look at the scout has 13 hull, but it has no utility mount. So the question is, do you want to be a little bit slower but have a utility mount, or be a little bit faster but have less hull? It's a very personal decision. I don't play often with the scout bomber, so I thought I'd try the bomber. So I'll craft this bomber. So this is the last tutorial I've implemented. When there's a white border, you can board a ship. So if you click on the more icon, like let me just move, as you can see the border is white to say this is a ship you can board, and as you click on it you can transfer item. So if I click here, you can see this is the inventory from the bomber, which says a human scout, so that's a nice bug I'm gonna have to fix. And then as you can see here, you have the list of everything my ship has equipped, and I've made it so that you can either move stuff one by one like this, like you can choose where to put it, or you can just quickly transfer everything in one shot, and it's gonna try to be intelligent. If you had a weapon mounted, it's gonna move it to the weapon mount. If you had a weapon in your cargo, it would move it into the cargo hold. So like if I just click like this, as you can see, it just moved everything over. And now my ship is just basically empty. It doesn't have a shield anymore. It doesn't have any way to regenerate energy or anything. So we're just gonna click here, click board, and select this ship here. And as you can see now, this ship is boardable because we just moved out of it, and now we are in control of this ship here. We found the first wormhole to go down. I used to just write the number you were at based on like how deep you are in the levels, but now I've given names to each of the levels. So as you can see, this is the beginning, and as I travel down the first level, it's gonna say that we're now in sector 1. And there's a few branches, and the branches will have different names, like the home world, the Vork collective, or stuff like that. So another enemy ship. So now our shield is down, so if he hits us, you see that the effects has changed to getting hit on the hull, and we've lost some hull points. The hull points never regenerate, so really ideally you want to avoid having your shield completely depleted. Hopefully there's some items, and I give one at the beginning. So there's the repair nanobots that you can use that will regenerate some of your health. So it's active 5 turns, and it gives you 5 health per turn. Ooh. So 2 enemies at once without a better weapon, that's a little bit dangerous. And they're both going to go for me. So let's see, this guy, look, as you can see, this guy is moving parallel to me. That seems to indicate to me that he's not using a missile launcher, but probably a laser. So lasers are pretty bad for me because they have a higher range. So I'm gonna try to close in without getting shot too much. As you can see, he managed to shoot me. I might die here actually. Yeah, I'm probably gonna die. I'm gonna use the repair nanobot. As you can see, I've already lost my shield. Okay. Oh, and I'm run out of missile. Okay, that's pretty bad. So let's see, what can I do? Yeah, I think I'm gonna die here. Unless he misses his headshot. Yeah, he got me. So now in the results screen, it also tells you your difficulty multiplier. So basically, the difficulty you chose just multiply your final score. The default difficulty is actually harder. So this is what I've designed the game to be played at. But I realized that it can be a little bit difficult, especially if you haven't played it, because I mean, it's hard for me and I know exactly how to play it. So normal makes it that enemies will miss their shots more often, and that it's gonna be easier to grab stuff from planets so that you have less chance to run out of energy. And not happening is actually, I haven't even tried it. It just like makes everything harder. Enemies are more difficult to kill. They'll never miss their shots, and you get very little energy from your harvesting. So like honestly, it's probably like, but I left it because I thought maybe someone somewhere will be able to get it. Like probably someone eventually will be better at this game than me. So after playing for a while, as you can see, I have a much beefier looking ship, and I have much better inventory. I have some laser turrets, I have some utilities, and I have a medium shield. I even found, like, this is what you would call an artifact in other roguelikes. It's basically the ultimate scanner. What it does is that it reveals the whole map, so there's no more blue anywhere. So as you can see here, there's another ship, and it's blue right now because it hasn't seen us. But if I get close, as you can see, it turned red because now it knows we're here and is gonna go for us. So let's let him close in, and let's use both our laser to hit him. I've also added now, used to be that lasers and weapons would always shoot from the center to the center of the tile. So now I've added a random offset so that you can see every shot you're doing. I think it gives it a like more realistic look, so it's kind of nice. As you can see, this frigate was pretty strong. It completely destroyed our shields, but with 2 weapons we still managed to get him. The medium shield is helping quite a lot too. When you have multiple weapons, you can decide if you want to shoot all your weapon at the same time or only one. So for example, if I click for this one, I've selected the first weapon. If I cancel, then I'm not going to shoot anything, but if I click once and then I hit skip, then I'm going to shoot only one laser, which can be very useful for avoiding like wasting ammos and energy, because laser especially use a lot of energy. One of the things that the ultimate scanner will reveal quite easily is these anomalies. So an anomaly is an unknown thing in space, and they basically act like traps. So normally you wouldn't do that, but if I run on it on purpose, it's gonna give me some random effects. So as you can see, this corrupted my warp drive, so for a few turns I'm gonna be at half speed. If you look at my turn count when I'm moving, it's using 2 turns every move I make. But once my system is back online, then I can start moving at 1 turn again. So that's gonna be it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little preview. I think everyone can agree that it's gotten quite a long way from the first preview I did, and that things are looking much better now, and the user interface is much easier to use, the user experience is much better, everything is unified, the font, the sound effects, the style, the visual effects too, everything is so much smoother and flows so much better. But it's still not finished. There's still a few bugs here and there. There's still a few things that needs to be fixed. And I hope you'll like this video, you'll subscribe, and you'll follow me along as I complete this and I release it. It's definitely coming out for a mobile device, and hopefully I can make it also for PC. It should be fairly easy with Godot. So I hope to see you guys in my next episode, and enjoy yourself in the meantime. Bye! Thank you.